Yeah, so there is definitely a glass ceiling in Ireland when it comes to, you know, getting up there. But in Ireland, we have what you call double glass. But for me, in my situation, this is obviously the double glaze to keep warmer. But for me, there's a triple glaze ceiling because I'm a woman, I'm a migrant, and I'm a lesbian. So it's like so many. I'm here to really tick all your equal opportunities boxes, you know. So 3 minorities in one. Anyway, so I'll tell you a little bit about myself. First of all, the station that my program is on is called Newstalk. It's national and it has quite a large share, especially this today. The journal, our figures are out. We're reaching over 300,000, which is good. And my program is on a Saturday between 7 and 9 p.m., the time when people think about equality and social change, right? Yes, exactly. Anyway, so a little bit of background on myself. I was born and brought up in Italy. My parents are Sri Lankan. Then I lived in the Middle East, working as a flight attendant for 5 years. And now I'm in Ireland 12 years. My first job when I came to Ireland was as a kitchen porter. I worked as a cleaner, as a waitress, and did lots of jobs. I went into recruitment, which is something I always wanted to do. And I became a HR consultant and then trainer. And then in 2006, I set up Diversity and Equality Works, which is a training company, because I found, as a recruitment consultant, I was part of this machinery that was discriminating. Because in the good times, I was getting calls from clients saying, I'm looking for an accountant, make sure he's a man, not older than 35, and make sure he's Irish, and make sure he doesn't live in Finglas, Clondalkin, Ballymun, and Tala, which are kind of disadvantaged areas. So I was like, what? Yes, I said, I had 200 applicants for you, now I have 2. But I used to put that information aside and actually send the best person for the job, and a lot of times it was the African 50-year-old woman living in Tala who got the job. But that sadly didn't happen all the time. So I thought, I don't want to be part of this, and I don't want to accumulate too much bad karma, so I went and set up this diversity and equality training company. And at that stage, I realized, I looked at Irish media, and I realized there was absolutely no diversity. So I started working as a volunteer. My first love was radio. When I was 17 in Sri Lanka, my first job actually was in the national radio station in in Sri Lanka. But I knew my sexuality and my background was not going to help me progress. So I kind of abandoned that dream. But it's only when I came to Ireland I realized, my goodness, there's absolutely no diversity. So I started working in a community radio station for 2 years, producing, presenting my own show voluntarily. And then that led me on to Newstalk. So that's a bit of a story. So there's lots of other stuff there. And recently I've even started doing stand-up comedy because I find that as activists, as academics, sometimes we are only preaching to the converted, and I'm always looking for a platform that will reach the mainstream. And humor has got huge power. And there's certain things that I can't say on the radio, that I can't say in here, that I can say on a stage, and if it's funny, people will actually listen, and it actually is working, because I do talk about a lot of controversial issues. So Irish media, I mean, we had a few attempts at talking about multicultural issues. RTE had a great program called Mono. Shalini Singha was presenting it, but in the first year of presenting the program, she was told, do not mention the word racism, and do not portray any negative stories of migrants. I'm so glad that I don't work for the national broadcaster, because I would have probably lasted 5 minutes there. Because the great thing about Newstalk is you can say anything you want. I've never been told what not to say. And Spectrum was another program that was scrapped about 2 years ago. So right now, congratulations, you've just met the only migrant of color working in Irish media, which is absolutely shocking. And it's like, I feel like the last of the Mohicans. I'm very, very lonely, people. So the program started in 2008. It was 9 to 10 first. And it was only meant to talk about migrant issues. And I absolutely hated that point, because I thought, here we are marginalizing ourselves. So the moment I got my foot in the door, I started campaigning and asking them, we have to change the remit of the show. But anyway, these are the topics that we kind of covered. Concept of the new Irish, visibility of migrants in politics, female genital mutilation, human trafficking. So there's a whole wide range of topics. There's no topic that I would not talk about, because I think that's an issue that we have. So listenership figures at that stage were between 9,000, right? Then in May 2009, literally a year later, I made a proposal to ask for a 2-hour show, widen the scope, talk about equality and social change, And I was aiming for the sky. I asked for a weekday slot. I didn't get it, but I did get everything else. It's a 2-hour show. It's live. It's now we do talk about equality issues, and the slot is a bit earlier, so it's 7 to 9. So we're getting there little by little, you know. And for me, the glass is always half full. So at that stage, the format was very much, we'd look at the weekly papers, 30 to 40 minutes panel discussion. Ireland has 188 nationalities, so every week we highlight one by you know, talking about the country and playing some music and whatever. Then we had a radio solicitor, a solicitor that comes on to talk about rights. So I was trying to make sure that whoever listens, who happens to turn on the radio, whether they're Irish, whether they're migrant, whether they have a disability, whoever they are, they're bound to find something interesting. And then if they hear something interesting, they'll stick on, and then they'll hear the next topic that they might not listen to. Did you get me? And as a result of the new format, our numbers, oh, I beg your pardon, we just skipped. Our numbers increased hugely, and hang on. So the topics then went to cover unmarried fathers' rights, institutional abuse, gay marriage or civil partnership, a topic that's very close to my heart, minority stress and how minority groups experience mental health issues, ageism. So as you can see, a lot of Irish people were like, oh wow, I can listen to that, because there's something that I care about in that big pot. You know, there's bound to be something that's going to be interesting. Then last year, lo and behold, we got a sponsor. So we actually got a sponsor who's still on board with us. There was some hairy moments because of all those lovely resources being cut left, right, and center. We were quite told you have to get a sponsor, otherwise, you know, it's not going to, you know, the program can't go on forever. So we've got a sponsor, and ever since then, we've got a whole load of more support. The program has changed again. Each topic is maybe 12 minutes now. So instead of 4 topics a show, we are now covering 8 to 9 topics. So a lot more research. We look for social entrepreneurs, which is again kind of a concept of, if you see a social issue, don't complain about it, do something about it, to kind of inspire people to become activists themselves. Then we have a few new segments. Mental health is a topic that affects us all, another very issue that's close to my heart. We have a psychotherapist that comes on. And again, this is like one of the only programs in Irish mainstream media that has a psychotherapist that comes on to talk about issues. People text in with their worries, and we try and give them some advice. We have another segment called Global Cuisine. One thing that Ireland has benefited with migration was the new cuisines that have come into Ireland. So we highlight that, and also global travel, and we still have the 188 segment. There's the mental health slot. That's Caroline McGuigan. She's an advocate for mental health. She founded an organization called Suicide or Survive, and she herself is a social entrepreneur. She's got an amazing story. She went through the Irish psychiatric services herself. She tried to take her own life, and then realized how you know, the psychiatric services were actually doing damage to people, and now she's become a psychotherapist, and she's become an advocate. Then these are the organizations, social entrepreneurs of Ireland, the Arthur Guinness Fund. They're funding social entrepreneurs. So every week we highlight a different social entrepreneur with amazing, inspiring individuals, with inspiring projects that are literally helping Ireland become a better place. I suppose that their slogan is think big, act now, change Ireland, you know. There's the global cuisine piece. We just started that in December. We had an Italian cookery school. January we had because of the lunar calendar, the Chinese New Year, we had a Chinese lady who owns 4 restaurants. You'll actually hear that intro. I'll talk about it in a second. Public response, as I said, it's a live show. We get between 150 to 200 texts, 150 emails weekly, and we don't really take calls. So we get about 10 or 20, but we don't really bring them on. Awards, yes, we've got a few. I'm particularly proud of the Mama Award because it took us 3 years to get there. And we've been recognized by the Irish Law Society for being the only, at one time, the only radio show on a national radio station that highlighted rights and you know, highlighted awareness on Irish law. And that's also pretty cool. So listenership figures, this was 25,000. But I just heard today just today that our listenership, our listenership for Global Village has gone up by 30%. That's pretty amazing, people. I know, I'm very happy. I can't believe I didn't say, I said that to you and to Catherine. It's like, oh my God, I'm going to tell everybody. So now this is some alarming stuff. The text messages that come in to my show, right? Texting is anonymous. So then they come in, they can be quite frightening. In fact, over the years, we've had to call the guards, the police a few times, because there have been issues of actually my personal safety. Because I will speak my mind. So in relation to, if you cover a topic around that is quite controversial, like travelers, these are the kind of text messages we get. I'm not racist, but the majority of travelers are scum, right? So it's really quite worrying. So you get the negative on that side, and then you get quite a lot of positive stuff as well, but we do get a lot. Then the mayor of Limerick, this is something that happened 2 years ago, the mayor of Limerick saying, I'm calling for anybody who's living in the state and who can't afford to pay for themselves to be deported after 3 months. We talked about that. The text line went completely ballistic. Send them home. In fact, don't import them to begin with. Not a racist or xenophobic. We need more courage and honesty from politicians and fewer naive do-gooders. You know, who the hell do you think you are? I will take Radio 106 off my car radio, get that out of my country. Who has given you this platform to talk crap? You are parasites, you know. So this is the kind of stuff I'm used to, but it still hurts, because you think, you don't know me, you don't know the people who are coming on my show, and you have you text this. This is actually quite toxic, but this is the reality out there. And my fear is that a lot of politicians out there who will say, sure, there's no racism in Ireland. You know, so media can play a massive role. And these are just examples. I mean, I've forever wanted to be able to compile this. It'd be great to be able to compile this in a report, but yeah, and give it to our leaders. So they do, as I said, they do get personal. As I said, the police had to be called a couple of times, because there's, as a migrant, as being gay and all the rest, they have enough issues. But then there's also very positive stuff. So there you go. Dil, thank you for Global Village and for having the courage to speak out on behalf of so many who do not have a voice in Ireland, you know. This one just came last Saturday. Did you make my Saturday? I love the show. I mean, so for maybe 30 negative texts, I might get 10 great texts, you know. But in my situation, even if I got 3,000 negative texts, if I got 1 positive text, I'll keep doing what I do, because that's what.
What's the proportion, Dil?